welcome to Stand With Us on JLTV. I'm Roz Rothstein, your host, and today we have a real treat. We're here with MichelleRojasTal, who has been with the organization for 13 years.
13 years.
Oh my God. And she is the education director of all our diaspora work from Israel. So you live in Israel.
Yes.
You are living the dream.
Yes.
But first we encountered her in New York. We found her in New York, where she was very motivated to work with Stand With Us to educate people around her, and you're going to tell us why. But right now you're living in Israel. And
living in Jerusalem, yes.
And working from there.
Yes.
So let's start from the beginning. 13 years ago, you came to Stand With Us. Why was it so important for you to educate the people around you?
Well, I think today, if I have to reflect back in terms of the work that I'm doing, what I realize one of the greatest challenges that we have, and you know this well, Roz, is apathy. Most young people are very apathetic to issues in general, but Israel absolutely, without question. And I very easily could have become one of those young people going along with the stream, just basically putting my blinders on and ignoring what was happening around me. But once I reached university, I realized that my peers had very strong opinions about Israel. At first, I was tempted not to say anything simply because I didn't know much. I grew up in a mixed marriage home, technically a mixed divorced home. My late father was Puerto Rican. He was not Jewish. My mother is Jewish. I went to public school my entire life in New York City, and I really had very little connection to Israel. But when I got to university and I realized the wave of anti-Israel sentiment that I felt around me immediately, and the opinions that were very strong about what was happening in the Middle East, and in particular the Arab-Israeli conflict, I knew that I had to do something. I could not remain apathetic for fear of how my classmates would end up leaving university and how strong their opinions were about what was happening in the Middle East and in this conflict in particular.
Strong and wrong.
Strong and
Strong
wrong.
and wrong.
Strong and ignorant. I think a lot of it is just ignorance. You know, people want to have an opinion about this conflict. I think there are so many people who genuinely believe that if there were a solution to the Arab-Israeli conflict, some sort of final resolution, that would somehow fix all the problems in the world. Mm-hmm. I like to believe that as much as people may be apathetic, they really deep down can only liken themselves to Israel, unlike many other conflicts around the world, and that's why they feel so personally invested. But along with that, many people don't have information, but they still have opinions, especially here in the United States. People very much have opinions about what is happening in Israel, and even though for the most part they may seem to be apathetic or even favorable, when you dig a little bit deeper, especially amongst my generation, especially the university students today, they really have no idea what is happening, and they don't see the value in having that strong relationship with Israel, and I think that's where the real danger lies.
So, but let me ask you a question that even comes before you came to campus. You saw they had strong opinions. What was it, though, that motivated you? Why didn't you have those strong negative opinions? What was it that made you feel that, wait a second, there's another side to this coin, and I feel strongly that I need to educate people about the other side of the coin, the Israel that I know? Why did you feel that way?
Absolutely. It really started when I was still in high school. I was 16 years old on September 11, 2001. I was in a high school of 3,700 students, one of the worst high schools in New York City, and I was one of two Jewish students in my high school, my younger brother being the second. And I realized after September 11th, immediately in the weeks after, friends, people I had grown up with my entire life, who had never had an opinion about Israel or the Middle East or me being Jewish, suddenly were starting to have these opinions that were very strong and not favorable at all towards Israel. And that really, I think, started to turn the light on for me. That light only became brighter when I began university, and I realized students who were studying economics, literature, history, had these very strong opinions in terms of what was happening in the Middle East. And there was one event that really served as the catalyst. It was sitting in a classroom my freshman year and having a professor who was essentially teaching conspiracy theory in the classroom, in particular about the Jewish community in Iraq and the pogrom against them. We, as you know, just this past year held a tremendous event. Stand With Us did in Jerusalem, in the Knesset, in the parliament, to mark this pogrom, the Farhud. Yes, that regrettably many people are very unaware of. And what she essentially offered to the class at the time was that the Farhud was a conspiracy of the Jewish community itself, that we had planned and perpetrated our own pogrom in order to gain attention of the world. And as someone who, on my mother's side of the family, comes from a family that went through the Holocaust, I could not tolerate that type of incitement and misinformation and lies being taught in the classroom. And I raised my hand and I challenged what she had to say, and the rest is history. I realized at that moment I could not stay silent, especially, and I know you feel this so much yourself, Roz, and we've spoken about this, especially given your parents' history. When we come from histories where so many in our family were silenced, in a time where we have a choice and we can do something, we cannot remain silent and apathetic when we see this misinformation and these lies being spread about the Jewish people and about Israel.
Well, thank God for you. Thank God for people like you. And I'm so proud of you. People love to listen to Michelle. She's so inspirational to young people and to grown-ups alike. We will be right back. We're going to take a brief break. We'll come right back with MichelleRojasTal, and we want to hear the rest of your story and challenges and successes.
Great. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Stand With Us right here on JLTV, America's Chosen Network. We're here with MichelleRojasTal, who made Aliyah 10 years ago. I cannot believe it's been 10 years.
I can't either.
I cannot. And we are so proud of her work, and you wait till you hear what she's doing in Israel. So tell us a little bit. So let me just give the backdrop. So we have an Israel office. It is our second largest office that we have at Stand With Us. We have 26 or 27 people working there full time, and you're asking, what are they doing in an Israel office to educate? I mean, why would they have an Israel office in the first place? So, Michelle, what do you do in our Israel office?
Wow, we cover a lot of ground in our Israel office. First, I think it's very important for the viewers to know that our Israel Fellowship for Israeli students is one of a kind. It is the only program of its type in Israel where, from our establishment, Roz, you very much believed in empowering young Israelis themselves to tell their story, to tell Israel's story, to become ambassadors for their country. And now that we have, 1,500 alumni who have graduated this program, it's surreal, who are now in every position around the world that you can possibly think of.
So let me just interrupt you, because bringing this up is very important to me.
It's very important.
It's very close to our hearts. These are Israeli young people who have finished the army, many of them officers. Then they go to university, and we allow them to apply for this
very competitive
fellowship. It's very, very competitive. We probably have about 16 to 1,800 applications each year, from which we choose 180 at the different universities in Israel. So this is the fellowship, and it's a year-long fellowship, and it's one of a kind.
And I'll just give you a small example of the difference this program has made. I was in Sapir College last month running a workshop for the group at Sapir. So we run all the way from Haifa and Technion in the north to Sapir College in Sderot. In Sderot. And I'm walking onto this campus. I park my car, and it's a beautiful evening. And literally every few feet you see a bomb shelter and another bomb shelter. And I go into the group, and we're going through our Israel 101 presentation, the PowerPoint, and just getting them more comfortable and confident about knowing the history and the facts. And we get to the part where it's kind of tough questions and answers and how to prepare themselves. And I gave them an example of a tough question. Well, Israel uses far too much force when responding to rocket fire from Hamas. After all, these are homemade rockets, giving them, as we know, one of the most popular accusations made against Israel. And here we are in the middle of Sderot. And these students are going in every which direction, getting very technical. And I said, I want you guys to stop. We are in Sderot. I want you all to think about a moment where you were in class, in the shower, having dinner, drinking a cup of coffee, and a rocket was fired, and what that felt like for you. And you just saw them stop. And that's when I realized the importance and the power of the Stand With Us Fellowship in Israel. These are Israelis who for the first time are learning how to tell their story.
How to tell their story.
Exactly, their story.
Amazing.
Their story.
That's what we are doing there. We're helping them. We're not giving them a story. We're telling them, just focus. Tell your story. Let's crystallize your very story.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And that's essentially what we're trying to do with students who are coming in from around the world. As you know, there are tens of thousands of students that come to Israel during the course of a year from across the diaspora, both Jewish and non-Jewish students as well. And our Stand With Us Education Center in the heart of Jerusalem really has become the hub. I mean, the same way when someone visits Jerusalem, they must visit the Wailing Wall, the Kotel. They have to be on Ben Yehuda Street for a good meal. You have to stop by the Stand With Us Education Center for a workshop. And it has been incredible, the number of students we have encountered from across the globe. And we're able to empower those students and give them the tools and the resources that they need to go back to their communities and become educators themselves and build that link with them.
So, for example, you have kids coming in from Australia.
Yes.
You have students coming in from Germany, from Poland. You have these kids coming in, and you're able to empower them so they can go back to their communities and tell what they just learned.
Absolutely. And just to give you another quick example, South Africa, as you know, is a community that holds a very, very special place in my heart. You know, when we as an organization have been dealing with Israel Apartheid Week for many, many years now, and the vicious campaign it runs across the globe here in the United States where it is intimidating pro-Israel students, you think about a place like South Africa to challenge Israel Apartheid Week and push back against Israel Apartheid Week. It is no small challenge.
No.
It is
I've
a
seen
lot
some of the
work.
video.
Yes.
I have seen the video on that, where we send in people to just have conversations about why Israel is certainly nowhere close to anything like this.
Absolutely.
Like that you have experienced here in South Africa. Why are you telling those lies? And to even begin to speak about it is very, very challenging. And I saw some physical violence, pushing, and it looks like it could get very, very scary.
Absolutely. You know, and there are people who have said to me for a very long time, you are the only outside organization that is supporting the community. I really want, you know, our viewers to understand that. Stand With Us is the only external organization that is supporting the community in South Africa, supporting the South African Jewish students on campus. And that is tremendous. I mean, I shared with you the thank you letter that the students had sent you, the president of South African Union of Jewish Students, because they were just so touched by our ongoing support, and specifically during Israel Apartheid Week. And we share a lot of difficult stories, but this year was a success. As you know, we won this year. Our students pushed back. They held a brilliant campaign on the last day of Israel Apartheid Week. The BDS movement did not even show up to campus at Wits University. So you can do it. With the intellect and the manpower, you can make the difference, and we did.
So South Africa, just one example of how your support for Stand With Us is helping Michelle help the students that are actually pro-Israel students, Jews and non-Jews, as far away as South Africa. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We're going to take a brief break, and we're going to be right back with more of Michelle. Don't go away. Welcome back to Stand With Us on JLTV. We're here with MichelleRojasTal, and she's telling us so many great things about the work that you're doing. And now we're going to just shift gears a moment. We're going to talk about Latin America. We're going to talk about a latest effort. I know this is close to your heart because your father was Puerto Rican,
Yes.
and I believe that may play a little bit of a role in this, pushing this out. So tell us a little bit about the challenges that we do face currently in Latin American countries as we're witnessing the misinformation being pushed out there, like Chile, I know it's really a nightmare for the Jewish community, that Venezuela, that we are witnessing a real change in how people view Israel, and it's no small task to undo it. But once again, here we are being called upon to undo damage. So tell us a little bit about what we're doing with Latin American countries.
So Latin America, I mean, we as an organization realize that Latin America really it's a tremendous task, as you said, but we have to really put ourselves up to the challenge. The history, just a very quick history between the uncomfortable relationship that has formed between Latin America and many of the Middle Eastern countries outside of Israel, as we know, is one essentially that is one of my enemy's enemy is my friend. And so Latin American countries have a certain view of the United States vis-a-vis globalization. Many of the Arab countries began to understand that. Many of the Arab countries, as we know, have a very strong view of Israel. And this is essentially how the relationship, the link, the bond was formed. And so what you will find at the United Nations, for example, is that the Latin American bloc will vote along with the Arab nations bloc. And those are resolutions, as we know, that are against Israel time and again. You pair that together with what is regrettably still semblance of blood libel forms of anti-Semitism that exist in certain Latin American countries, and you essentially have a recipe for a disaster when it comes to any type of potential relationship being built with Israel. Chile, as you mentioned, in Santiago, I want to give the viewers a quick statistic. In Santiago, which is the capital of Chile, you have a Palestinian population, the highest concentration of a Palestinian population outside of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. 500,000, 500,000 Palestinians living in the city of Santiago, and a Jewish community of roughly 40,000. And as a result, you have a very, very active pro-Palestinian lobby taking place in Latin America, a very political lobby, and the communities there really are struggling on every level to ensure that Israel's side of the story is being told, that they as a community are being protected, and that is why we've decided to really push forward into Latin America in terms of our educational outreach, Stand With Us materials being translated, our social media network growing tremendously in Spanish, in order to ensure that we are getting the information out there that is so desperately needed in these communities.
Let me tell you what will happen if we do not do this. Okay, so this is very serious. What you're describing is so serious to me. Imagine yourself living in a community where there are 500,000 Palestinians pushing out anti-Israel propaganda, which they know how to do. Unfortunately, that's the raison d'etre. And then you've got the Jewish community, 40,000 in Chile, that, in Santiago, where there's going to be fear. There will be fear wearing a Jewish star, wearing a kippah, walking on the streets. This is not uncommon. We've seen this already. We've seen it in Europe in different places. I don't want to get into that right now, but it's frightening to hear this, because if we don't do something, many of these places around the world will be Judenrein. And so the question is, what can we do? How can we be strategic? How can we have high impact? What is it that we are doing? Tell the audience what we're doing so that we can hope to bring information into a place that's getting misinformed.
Yes. So we've already, 6 months ago, we really launched a huge effort into Latin America, growing our social media work, putting out petitions, online petitions that were very, very successful for BDS movements that were attempting to be passed in various Latin American countries, Chile specifically. Ilan Lopez, who directs the department along with me, was in Mexico on a speaking tour. We are absorbing many of the Latin American students who are in Jerusalem on a different gap year program or the like, and ensuring they're going through our training so that, again, the same model that we're using across the globe, we are now using Latin America to make sure that we have these students on the ground who are prepared, who are going to begin working, educating their communities bringing programs into their schools. And we have huge plans. We have huge dreams in terms of delegations we want to bring to Israel, people who want to come. I just want to mention this very quickly. In Panama and Costa Rica now, every professor in Costa Rica, the viewers have to know this, they are being brought on a fully funded trip.
To Palestine?
To Palestine, to Jordan, and to Lebanon. Every professor, Roz, does not matter what subject they are teaching.
So they will come back.
They will come back.
Poisoned
Exactly,
further.
exactly.
Okay.
We have to do something about this.
We have to do something. So we have dreams, but unfortunately at Stand With Us we don't have a lot of funding. So I'm asking you out there, if you want to designate money, literally, if you want to designate money to this effort, the reaching out to the Latino countries and doing what it is that Michelle has described, education, supporting the youth that support Israel. We need support for the youth in these different countries that want to support Israel. What are they going to do? Do it by themselves? They don't even know where to begin. So unfortunately, we have to wrap up. I hope you will come back again and give us updates. And you need to come back for next Stand With Us every Tuesday night. So we'll see you next time on Stand With Us. I'm Roz Rothstein. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, security. What is happening here? This is ours. Hey, this is ours. This is ours. This is ours. Security, can you please do your job? They are messing us up. Can you please do your job? Hey.
This is not right.
You're violent. You're violent.